Ladies and gentlemen, TikTok is on its way out, okay? It's getting banned by the government. It's happening. It's on its way out. And that means Instagram Reels is piping hot with fire content like little kids saying slurs and people in the comments of those videos telling the little kids that they're going to come to their house. Also, a variety of videos of horrendous car crashes where in the caption it says, nobody was hurt, but a whole family lost their lives. And for me, I've been getting a lot of hobby horsing videos. And so as you can see, I'm very excited about hobby horsing now. And so I thought today we'll take a little deep dive into the rise of hobby horsing.
No, I hear in the digital space words like thunder with a gamer's grace. Tropical fire from the screen to your face. Commentary king, ain't no time to waste.
Now, hobby horsing started originally in Finland in the early 21st century, and in 2015 became more international and has quickly grown around the world, trickling into my hometown of the United States, which is very exciting for me. Hobby horsing originally was a children's toy, something kids could hang around the backyard, prance around, act like they're, doing equestrian shit. Right? But nowadays, hobby horsing is a much larger thing than just a kid's toy. Nowadays, hobby horsing is so much more than just a kid's toy. There's competitions held, especially in Finland, where they have national competitions and national championships for hobby horsing. And now hobby horses are made from different fabrics and all that. And it's a lot more complex than just a kid's toy nowadays. This is not your grandkid's hobby horse, one might say. Now, I want to say a little piece from the Wikipedia page about hobby horsing. Wikipedia states, while the sport may be perceived more as a childish pastime by real riders, Fred Stundwall, Secretary General of the Finnish Equestrian Federation, views it positively. Positively. Fuck. We think it's wonderful that hobby horsing has become a phenomenon and is so popular. It gives kids and teenagers who don't have horses a chance to interact with them outside the stables and riding schools. And so I think that's kind of an overarching point of, why people get into hobby horsing is because a horse is real fucking expensive, okay? And so I think it gives people an opportunity who might be interested in equestrian stuff to get into equestrian stuff without having to drop like a horrendous bag, Now, let's get back to like the competitions, right? So the hobby horses that people will use in competitions, or ride rather in competitions, are much nicer than you might find, some kid playing with, right? And having fun with. Because we don't fuck around, okay? As I said, they're made from different fabrics, and you can design them in whatever kind of like horse. You can make like a horse breed, bro. Like they got horses that are like, oh, this is like a Danish whatever the fuck, right? Now, people who make hobby horses for the competitions and stuff are known as breeders. Okay, they make different breeds. They decide the names of the horses, the breed of the horses. They design, how they look and stuff. It gets real deep. And people who collect hobby horses, they call their collection their stable, which I think's fucking dope. I also want to pull another quote from a website I use to research hobby horsing. I'll link all this shit in the description if you're interested yourself and want to read up a little bit, because it is quite interesting, in my opinion. Hobby horse is a piece of art and a sport supplement as well. Hobby horse riding can be an impression of feelings like a dance, an intense performance of sport, or just relaxing way to go into the woods, jog, exercise, and get some fresh air. So you could take your hobby horse on a little hike, on a little banter around the field. I don't know if I use the word banter there right. A little prance around the field, okay? That's probably a better word. Now, a hobby horse can cost from 20 to 600 euros. Large area. On the 20er end is going to be more of the toy stuff, the shittier stuff. We don't want that, okay? We don't want no Kroger brand hobby horses here. We're here for the real shit, the competition. So so that's about $22 US to $655 US. And I got to be honest, if I'm competing in hobby horsing, I'd probably drop a bag. You want the nicest shit, dude. I'm here to win, right? But maybe that's just me. I would drop $1,000 on a hobby horse if I was that committed to it. And after this, I might be that committed to it. Who the fuck knows? Now, as for the obstacles in these hobby horsing competitions, they're all jumps, right? It's all just like jump, like the Olympic high jump. It's got that bar on the thing. It's like that. They range from about 10 centimeters tall to 140 centimeters tall. Now, 140 centimeters tall is 4.5 feet for my American blokes. 4.5 feet tall, which is pretty absurd to be able to jump over. What originally got me interested in hobby horsing was a lot of the videos that I was seeing on my Instagram Reels were people jumping like absurd heights in competitions. Now, with all this, background info being said, there was a documentary that came out called Hobby Horse Revolution. Now, I watched this documentary, and I think it perfectly encapsulates the everyday trials that a hobby horse enthusiast goes through. The documentary takes a look at hobby horse culture in the professional sense. It follows some athletes that compete in hobby horse competitions, and it's all in Finland. The documentary is in Finnish, so it was a little tough of a watch because it's all in Finnish. The documentary talks about kind of the trials and tribulations, and it focuses on hobby horse athletes, so it's them explaining all this shit, so it's not, just some asshole talking about it. Now, an overarching theme of the documentary is kind of what the outside world of hobby horsing entails, like when they go home or like go to school, what hobby horsers have to worry about, like especially with like bullying is a big overarching theme, is like they have to kind of hide that they're into hobby horses because they will get relentlessly bullied for it, which is fucked up, of course. It also takes a look into like more of the online life, like them on social media and stuff. There's the main reason hobby horsing blew up so big was because there's very popular hobby horsing creators on like YouTube and stuff who will make like little edits of themselves doing hobby horsing stuff. Now, the documentary opens up with one of our main protagonists here. It follows 3 people. One of them is Maryam. Maryam is a hobby horse coach / competitor in the hobby horsing scene. It opens up with her and her friend waiting to go into a competition, right? Now, her and her friend are very nervous, right? I think it's a national championship. It's a national competition. This shit's big, right? For all the cookies, right? Her and her friend, we see them perform and do their thing. They end up fucking winning, okay? They end up winning the damn thing. Maryam gets second. Her friend gets first. Popped off, dude. Popped the fuck off. Couldn't be prouder of the gals on that one. Now, the category that they win in, get first and second in, is dressage. Now, dressage is the art of riding and training a horse in a manner that develops obedience, flexibility, and balance. So, like I just said, the art of riding and training a horse. So there's this thing where they there's a little bit of role play where they talk about their horse like it's a being, like it's sentient, and they will describe it in certain ways, like, oh, this one's real fast, like.
Heille lopettaa se, että sä niinku sihiset sille, koska se saa siitä vähän sellaista niinku lisää sellaista. Oh my god, tää oli seppä! Kyllä täällä energia on. Tää on kuitenkin helppo liikkua silleen nopeampaa. Se menee hirveän nätisti.
This one's like kind of slow. This one doesn't jump well. Like, it's, there's a little bit of a role play there, but role play never hurt nobody. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, developing obedience. They have to show that their hobby horse is obedient to them. Flexibility, I don't know. This is a hobby horse, right? It's a little fabric horse on a stick. I don't know how the judges score flexibility there. And the girls are kind of like prancing around a little bit, and they do like a small little routine just walking around on the hobby horse. So I don't really know what kind of flexibility is at play there, but it's part of the stuff, I guess. So more power to them. So right after the competition, Maryam describes how she is scared of getting caught, quote, caught as a hobby horser. I think that's a very strong word to use there because, I don't know, imagine if like you're a gamer, right? You're a gamer. I know most people that watch me are gamers, right? If you're playing something like Valorant or Call of Duty, right? And your friends don't like that game, it'd be kind of like to the point where you're like, I can't let them catch me playing Valorant or Call of Duty because it's going to be horrible for me. I feel like that's a good way to compare it to. And then Maryam says she's afraid of what they'll say, right? She's scared that her friends aren't going to like her anymore if they find out she hobby horses. They won't respect her. They won't want to be her friend anymore. She's scared she's going to lose friends over this passion that she has, which is fucked up. If your friend has kind of an odd, I don't necessarily want to say odd or weird, but like an out of norm passion, don't bully him. Come on. I mean, I'm really a good guy, right? Real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to my boy Mo. He's currently on his honeymoon right now while I'm recording this. So shout out my boy. Can we get a congratulations in the chat for in the comments rather for Mo on getting married? Big congrats there. He works at a restaurant with my little brother. Left me this note on my food once. It says, "Made with extra love for my favorite YouTuber, XOXOXO." You love to see it. You love to see it. I've even brought my friends to that restaurant, and he gave us free sopapillas. So my friends really, that was pretty cool because my friends, I kind of told them I was famous, and that I was getting celebrity treatment. So that was cool. Made me look super dope in front of my friends. Thank you, Mo. Shout out, Mo. Big ups. Now, another subject of the documentary, Elsa, describes a situation where at school, people found out that she does hobby horsing, and she started getting bullied a lot. There were a lot of people that were bullying her, but there were also some people that were kind of sympathetic. So one day, a couple of the nice people went up to her and said that they kind of pity her for being bullied so much, like they feel bad for her, but I think they use the word pity, which I feel like using the word pity is a little fucked up in this context, but anyway, they feel pity for her. But Elsa says, I don't want them to pity me. I want them to really understand, like, what the other people are doing wrong. Like, that it's fucked up what they're doing. Like, don't give a fuck about how I'm sad. Give a fuck about how these dudes are dicks, Which I agree with that sentiment. It's a very smart thing to say in that situation, So real quick, this is a bad transition warning. I went on this weird ramble that I decided to cut, so this transition sucks. Back to the video. And this is where we see them refer to their collection as their stable, right? Maryam even has in her house like a stable, like kind of like, I don't know, it's like got shelves, but it's got like a little fence thing on it. It looks like a stable where she keeps all her hobby horses. And honestly, if you're trying to keep hobby horsing from your friends, can you just never take them home? Because if they see that, what are you going to say? If they're like, what is all this? Why do you have all these hobby horses in like a stable thing? What are you going to say? Like, your mom's into it or something? What's going to happen then? Do you just not take your friends home? I'd be suspicious of someone who, if I knew them for like a long time and I was like good homies with them, and I was like, dude, let's like kick it at your house or something. Like, I've never been. I'm trying to see the crib ski. And they're like, no. We can never go to my house. I'd be like, oh. Like, are you good? Is there something going on at home? But anyway. Now, this next thing is a little side note that I just, in the documentary, I thought it was super interesting. Elsa talks about a boy she was dating who was very smart, but was, quote, a very cold person. Here, well, I want to read this verbatim. She says, quote, didn't like the fact that I knew things and I liked to talk and I was cheerful all the time. So he put an end to it. Dude, I think this guy's a sociopath. Who walks around and is like, I want a girl who's fucking sad a lot. I want a girl who's crying all the damn time, dude. That shit's fucking sick. I don't want my girl to be happy. I don't know how old she was when this happened. It was in school, so I'm assuming like high school, but I don't know. It could just be some fucked up little kid. But yeah, he didn't like seeing her happy, and so he fucking left her, which is fucking crazy. And Elsa didn't take it well. She was very sad about it, and understandably so. She probably really liked this guy, and he was like, "You're kind of smart. I don't fuck with that." And you're happy. I don't fuck with that either. Now, since she was very sad about this, her mom talked to her about getting a therapy horse. Now, when they first said that in the documentary, when she first explained that, I assumed they were just going to get like a hobby horse for her. But then jump cut, they got a whole ass horse, like a whole horse.
Mä muistan sen hetken, kun me mentiin sinne, mä muistan sen niin hyvin. Se oli sen Fionan persona ja se tavallaan se, niin kuin sen katse ja kaikki se, mitä Fiona oli jotenkin niin mua tai jotenkin mä näin jotenkin itseni sen kaltaisena.
Like the whole thing. Not just the head on a stick. They got the whole thing. They got the fat ass of the horse. They got the tail. Bro, they got it all. They had it all on this motherfucker. Now, cut back to Miriam competing. We're at the Finnish National Championships, right? It's a big deal. Competing in dressage again. Miriam competes. Her and her friends, they pretty much all compete in it. They look fucking fire, dude. They fucking killed that shit. Big up to the girls out there, right? Now, during the award ceremony, we see anger, sadness, everything bad that you could feel wash over these young girls' faces when the placings come out, and they don't place, none of them. None of her and her friends placed. After winning first and second, two of them, at the last competition they were at, they didn't even place. And it's 5 places. They placed 5 people. It's not top 3, it's 5. So it's kind of crazy, right? And they were talking shit about this one girl who was competing there. And they were like, we gotta whoop her, right? She ends up placing over them, right? Now, very disappointed. So they're curious what their scores were. They're like, what do we need to improve on, right? So they go to the scores table. They ask one of the officials, they're like, hey, can we see the scores for the dressage competition? But something's not right. They're looking over the scores, and they see that a lot of her and her friends placed or scored more points or as many points as a lot of the people who placed, right? Like one of her friends tied for 3rd, didn't place, or like 2 of them tied for 3rd. Miriam scored more than she like tied for 4th or something, and like they all should have placed. Pretty much all her friends should have placed based on how much they scored. They confront one of the officials about it, and they're kind of upset by this too. They're like, this is kind of fucked up. Why didn't they all place?
Teitä oli 107, oli ainakin 3. Joo. Mutta meitä ei niinku sijoitettu. Meitä sai enemmän kuin esim. Aada, se sai 106. Se sijoitettiin 4.
Voi vittu, missähän se on sen anteeksi kiroiluni?
Ei mitään. Mulki on mennyt hermo.
Another official tells them that they didn't place because there weren't enough rosaries or like their trophies to hand out. There weren't enough to hand out to all of them. So they just placed those people and not them. They just excluded Miriam and her group of friends. They just told them fuck off, right? So I have a little conspiracy theory about this, right? Now, why were our subjects for the film selected for the film? They got to be kind of big in the hobby horsing world. They got to have like a lot of experience in the hobby horsing world. They got to know, what the fuck's up, right? So I think that in this competition, either there's 2 options here. They're either underdogs, right? And they were talking about the other people that they really wanted to beat. They're underdogs, and the judges didn't want it. They don't like an underdog story. They're kind of pussies like that. They don't like an underdog story. They were like, we're not going to give anything to these people. Screw them, right? Which is fucked up. Or option number 2, our girls are so dominant, right? I say our girls. That was kind of weird that I said that, but the subjects of the documentary are dominant in the sport, and the judges kind of see them as like the bad guys, right? Because they're so good at what they do. They're kind of the bad guys. So they were like, get them the fuck out of here, right? They didn't want him placing. They're like, we can't give him another win. Screw him. So I think what we need to do is riot in Finland. I think we got to head over there. Me and all my 37 subscribers, we got to get over there, and we got to figure some shit out. We got to take care of business out there. That's just what I got. Now, after the competition, Maryam, she doesn't feel too good. She doesn't feel too good about competing. She says that she's burnt out of hobby horsing and doesn't have like the inspiration and stuff anymore. She kind of just wants to focus on coaching rather than competing. Now, at this point, we see some social media posts from Maryam talking about her horse, Hedda, saying, Hedda was getting old. Her legs had casts, her movement restricted, she was worn and tired. I got Hedda as a baby, my tiny little loose cotton wad, who made me cry and laugh to face my fears. She listened quietly. She's in a better place now. Essentially, she put her horse to rest, retired it. Her horse is dead. Her hobby horse is dead. Her hobby horse died. Super sad moment. I didn't realize that hobby horses could die. I guess it makes sense, Buy a new one that's kind of better. It's like, all right, buddy, got of Mice and Men, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Back that. Anyway, last post says, rest in peace, haters gonna hate, and shows the dates of her life, her birth and passing. Don't know how you have that on hand, but it's there. Like I said, she wants to focus more on coaching rather than competing because she's over competing. It soured her experience competing, what happened at the national championship. So now she's just a coach. She sets together a team, like hobby horsing club of whatever town or whatever. And she's got a bunch of girls, dude. She's got a bunch of girls she's coaching. She's got a team. She goes to a tournament where they're all competing in like a super coach uniform. She's wearing a gray sweatsuit. It's pretty sick, She's getting hype. I'm getting hype while watching because the girls are killing it. They whoop ass. It's their first tournament as like a team, and her coaching. It's their first tournament and they whoop ass. So things are looking great. Now, another protagonist of ours, Elisa, she is a YouTuber. She's a hobby horse YouTuber. She does a lot of hobby horse content. She's a lot of inspiration for a lot of these girls and boys. I know my last shirt said hobby horsing is a girl thing. There's some dudes out there. There's some dude hobby horsers, okay? I might be one of them. After this, you know what I'm saying? But she decides, she's in her she has like, forums with fans and stuff. She decides after this tournament, we're going to have a flash mob and declare hobby horsing, right? Like they're going to stand strong. We are hobby horsers. We're not here to fuck around. This is what we do, dog, right? So they do that. Hundreds of people, of hobby horsers, prancing through the street, singing, chanting, doing their thing. This is how the documentary ends, on this scene where they, let's go hobby horsers. And it's fucking sweet, and I think it was a great way to close it out. Showing like kind of the hobby horse pride within the riders and stuff. It was dope. A tear came to my eye, and I think a tear will come to your eye too if you watched it. It was freaking sweet. Back to kind of the overarching point of the documentary. This whole thing at the end where they're, going through Finland on their hobby horses. The hobby horsers on the hobby horses. They're going through Finland. They're, declaring themselves as hobby horses. They're like, we're fucking here and we're dope, right? Definitely a dope moment because, as I said, the documentary talks a lot about like the bullying that goes on, that people do to hobby horsers, and how it's kind of a scary thing. I don't want to say it like this, but I don't know another way to describe it, but like, coming out as a hobby horser, it's scary for people because you're bullied, you know, people don't really like it, they think it's weird. So that scene I think was a really cool moment where it's, you know, these people, they have so many other, it was hundreds of people, it was a big fucking crowd of hobby horsers. It was sick. They got all these other people around them. They're all kind of showing pride for their passion and their hobby, and you know, they're having a great time with it. So I think it was a really cool moment in the documentary where, you know, they were able to establish their pride, be open about it in public, and, you know, it felt very empowering for the hobby horsers there and for, you know, hobby horsers everywhere, I guess. I don't, you know. Now, that's it for the documentary. I wanted to briefly touch up on, so I said the main thing that got me into hobby horsing was seeing how high these girls were jumping, because it's absurd. Now, like I said, the biggest hobby horse obstacle that you can buy is 4.5 feet tall. But people have attempted jumping at 144 centimeters, which is 4.75 feet tall. So a little bit higher, an absurd height to jump. Like you have to be super athletic to jump that, like NBA style jumping. Now, I don't think that the 4'3" mark has been jumped yet, but it would be a record if someone clears it. And I'm not sure what I think 143 centimeters is the record right now, so just less than 4'3". Still high as fuck. Still crazy to jump over. And I quickly want to show this video. I know it's a TikTok. I've been talking about it. TikTok's out. It's all Instagram Reels. This TikTok where these girls are jumping over a 140 centimeter obstacle. And it looks to be like around their height of like all of them. And they're fucking clearing it. It's absurd, dude. I don't know how the hell you're able to do that. The athletic genes are like crazy. They're out of control there. Now, after doing all this research and looking into the art of hobby horsing and competitive hobby horsing, I've realized that though a lot of people find it weird, you know, and might laugh at the concept of competitions for it, at the end of the day, it's a pretty big passion for these people that do it. It's a major passion. They love it. They spend money on it. You know, they're willing to train for it. It's a massive passion. And whether you think it's a sport or like a weird thing for people to spend their time and money on, you gotta admit that it's pretty absurd, the dedication that people put into being good at hobby horsing, right? Like the technique they have to train, like the way their like feet look when they're prancing around, like the angles of their feet. It's like ballet type stuff. You gotta be impressed at the kind of dedication and hard work that these people put in to be good at all that. And you definitely can't deny that jumping almost your height is like insanely impressive. That's like the coolest shit ever. I wish I could do it. At the end of the day, I think that hobby horsing is kind of a way of people who are very into like equestrian sports that can't necessarily afford a horse, because some of the better horse breeds can be like $250,000. So I think and like that's absurd, right? Like I can't get into equestrian stuff, you know, that's way too expensive. So I think it's a great way for people who don't have that type of money, you know, to compete in equestrian activities without having to drop an insane amount of money on it. So I just think it's a great way, a great outlet for people to do these activities without having to spend money that could get you a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square foot home in Texas. But anyways, guys, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed. I know it's this isn't what I normally do, but I kind of want to start normally doing stuff like this because I think it's fun. But yeah, that's all I got. And remember, kids, when your friend is like really high in class, start telling them that the teacher definitely knows, and make them freak out. Peace.